And I just let everyone know, don't multitask at all. Do one thing quickly, efficiently, get it done, and then move on to the next thing. But don't try to do two things at once because you're not going to get it done effectively.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my podcast, How Do You Medicine, where we talk to healthcare professionals doing healthcare their way. I'm your host, Dr. Nancy Joseph, aka The Dynamic Doc, and today our guest is Dr. Wilson Bartou. And so he currently is both a podcast host and a pharmacist, but started his career at the Francis Marion University, where he got his bachelor's of science degree in biology. And then he went on to go to a Presbyterian College School of Pharmacy to get his doctorate of pharmacy. But while there, he started, making waves when he was awarded the certificate of medication therapy by the American Pharmacist Association. So then he's been making waves since then, and also became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated during that time as well. So after his pharmaceutical or pharmacy degree, he continued to be involved in the community. He is a master with Boy Scouts of America. In addition to that, he has actually recently been had gotten the honor to be named as top immunizer as part of a local district. And so right now, in addition to doing all of these things, he's also, as I said, the host of a podcast. It's called Pill Talk. And really that podcast talks to medical professionals about their journey with the aim to inspire individuals to get into medicine. So we'll kind of talk about his journey and so much more, get into all the things. So let's welcome Dr. Bartou to our podcast. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you for bringing me in today to share my journey with you guys and your audience.
All right. So listen, let's get into it because everybody sees the finished product, right? They don't see the beginning. They don't see the genesis of everything. How did you even decide on a career pharmacy, right? Because we know, as you know, there's different avenues to exist in the realm of healthcare. How did you go about picking this particular avenue?
My journey started into pharmacy when I was in elementary school as a kid. I would see my mom, my grandmother take some medications, and I would always ask them yo, what is this medicine for? And what is it doing for you? And they could not answer the question. Only thing they could say is, my doctor told me to take it, so that's what I'm doing. Or something simple as blood pressure. I was yo, we got to figure out what's going on. I wanted to know why you taking this medicine. So with me asking them that question, oh, you must want to be a pharmacist or something. I was you know what? If that can give me the answers to those questions, yes, I'll be a pharmacist. And after that, huh?
You're okay. No, I listen. You're I need my questions answered. So this is great.
So after that, that was the thing that sparked that into me, and I just kept it going and just wanting to know. And then once I got into it, and once I started talking to more family members, I realized not everyone, but a good deal of people, definitely Black, older people, didn't know what they were taking, didn't know why they were taking the medicine. They just knew that the doctor said do it. So I was yo, let me get this information and bring it back to the community to help everyone,
Knowledge is power. So yeah, I think you shine light on something very, very important. Oftentimes there's a lack of education to our families and friends about their condition, what they're taking, why they're taking it, what diagnosis led to the therapy they're even on, what does that mean? And so, that knowledge is important because when they go to somewhere, let's say they go, travel, it's important to be able to, tell someone what you're on. And then same thing when you're going to the emergency room, right? Especially if it's somewhere that's outside of the hospital system that your primary care is, you need to be able to tell them what medication you're on, as opposed to, I'm on a couple, but I don't really remember. I think one of them is for blood pressure. What is this one for? And it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to know, especially as a pharmacist. I'm sure the possible dangers of interactions of different medications. Well, if I don't know them all in the first place, then I can't properly discern what possible interactions could be. So then you went ahead and went to so now you're in college. Are you like, talk about the preparation to get into pharmacy school, right? Because I know a lot of us kind of we see pharmacists, we see doctors and things like that. So what did you major in biology because someone was like, yeah, you should probably major in science? Or you were like, no, this is dumb.
Nah, my journey to get into pharmacy school is the one most people probably, hopefully wouldn't have to do. So when I came into undergrad, I was looking to do the pre-pharmacy recs, and then just move right on to pharmacy school. So after the first 2 years, I was almost finished with all the prereqs, applied to pharmacy schools, got into the interview my first year, but after the interview was not selected for the first time. So I had to come back to the drawing board, and I was like, you know what? I wasn't selected. It's still more work for me to do. So I was like, let me just go ahead and finish out my undergrad degree. I actually started with a major in chemistry, but realized biology was easier to me. So I just switched over to that, but I still minored in chemistry.
Okay.
And then when I graduated undergrad, I applied again to pharmacy school, but they changed up the application process for me. So I ended up not getting into pharmacy school the second time because I did the PharmCast, which is a big application that sends off all your information to all the pharmacy schools at once.
A centralized application system.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But what I didn't realize was I needed to do the supplemental applications where I will go to the individual school website and submit the applications and application fees. So I did one part and not the other. So that made me not get into pharmacy school for the second time applying. So I took a year off, decided if I really want to be a pharmacist, let me actually work inside of a pharmacy and see if this is what I really want to do. And I applied to a big chain pharmacy, was able to get in as a technician.
Okay.
And I worked as a technician and got state and national certified within the first 6 months of working there. And after I did that, I was like, all right, this is for me. Because talking to other technicians, very few people was able to achieve that same type of goal. And doing that, I was able to apply again to a pharmacy school that just recently opened up. And I can remember them coming to my undergrad before they opened their doors and was recruiting students to come to the school. And I was like, oh, it's such a new school. I want something more seasoned
established
to be a part of. But this third time applying, I was like, you know what? They need students. I need a place to be. So I'm going to give them an opportunity. And it so happened that we kind of meshed well, and they gave me the opportunity to start my pharmacy journey,
Great. I mean, that's a great story of persistence, right? Like a lot of times people are not sure what they should do as far as try again, not try again, under what circumstances, that type of thing. What would you say to someone who maybe I did it once, I didn't, get in, that's making the decision between trying again and being like, maybe I could pursue something else? Would you recommend doing that route of like, hey, maybe working just in the environment of pharmacy to decide, or are there like places where you can kind of explore alternatives, that type of thing?
All right. So for me, I had one dream. Like I didn't care about none of the worries. I just knew the end goal. So for me, going into this from starting college, I already knew that I was going to become a pharmacist. Like I knew nothing was going to stop me from that. So if I see someone out there and they're having a little trouble starting off, or they get their first rejection, the real question to ask them is this what you really want to do? Because if it is, you can always find a way. You can always find more time to focus on what you need to achieve that. Because every time that I got rejected, I looked at the process and looked at what I did wrong, and I fixed that error, which led me to get to the next time, which led me to finally get into pharmacy school. So a lot of people who are applying or in on the fence about some things, they got to ask themselves if they really want this, or do they just want to do something? If they just want to do something, then yes, I tell them keep shopping around till you find that one thing that you want to be locked in on.
I think that's a good analogy, kind of to self-check. Like,
Yeah.
are you doing this because your parents told you should? Are you doing this because it looks good? Or is it your heart? And then just kind of self-check to help you with the next level. So then so here you are in pharmacy school, and I know for me in medical school, we had to learn our specialties or decide where we wanted to go in terms of specialties while in med school. How does that work in terms of a pharmacist? Because I know a lot of people see retail pharmacy, right? When you go to your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, you'll see that, but there's way more to pharmacy than just retail pharmacy. It's just one aspect of being a pharmacist. So when did you make that decision? Like what realm of pharmacy are you in, and when did you make the decision to be in that realm?
So just like most people, only thing I knew really was like hospital, retail. But once you get into pharmacy school, they part of the curriculum is IPPs and APPs, which allows you to go and do rotations at different pharmacies. So you go from nuclear to hospital, retail. There's all different avenues of the pharmacy field, so you can see which ones really you feel and lock in on, because the pharmacy world is very vast within its own self, you know. But for me per se, I always knew that I wanted to be like in the managerial role. So the things that I went for was those type of positions, which led me to where I'm at now. Like I did try to get into a pharmacy residency with the hospital to become like a director of pharmacy at the hospital, but that didn't work out. So I went back to plan B, was getting back into retail, and then just moving my way up the ladder.
Okay, so now you're kind of more of a managerial position in the realm of retail pharmacy?
Yes.
Gotcha. And then what advice would you give someone that wants to like move up that ladder? Are there specific like things you want to make sure you check off, or is it just kind of a matter of networking?
So it's a little bit of both. I say for number one in retail, customer service is number one. Making sure that your team is being efficient as possible and as pleasant to the customers as possible. And then number two is like knowing your metrics and how to make the work the metrics. Because that's what big corporations are looking at. How are you doing on the numbers, right? So once you actually know what they are and how you can influence them, you'll be fine at that point.
Okay. Meaning how you can make the numbers that are necessary as far as the what do you call the deliverables, the desired deliverables that they need, that particular company, that type of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So the best way to put it, basically, like, know exactly what they're measuring, and then find some of the best ways to get those numbers where they need to be. So if they're measuring customer care, I always make sure that we are as pleasant as possible to the customer. So when we get the survey and handed it to the customer, be like, if you enjoyed this experience, please follow up with the survey and give us all tens. Another thing would be like metrics is triage. How fast or how soon can you get something typed in? So knowing that, we have a little meter at the bottom, a legend. So like when this gets into this realm under 15 minutes, we need all hands on deck. We need everyone to jump on a computer and type in all these prescriptions to make sure that they're properly typed in, and making sure that we don't go into any reds. So just little things like that, like just making sure they know what to see and what to do when they see certain things come up.
So then that leads to, one of my guests that I had in the podcast before said something very profound. She said, we don't live and we don't leave toxic jobs, we leave toxic bosses. So how do you, because, being in a leadership position is very difficult in the sense that what's needed from, whether it's deliverables and that you're saying like the metrics that are needed, right? But then the people that you're managing, they're just like, listen, I'm here to make my money. I'm here to leave. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not tech, it's kind of like, is it my responsibility to make the metrics? Like, that's on you, bro. You're the manager. Moving forward, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to work my hours, work my overtime, maybe if that's possible, and then leave. But you, as the manager, it's like, I don't just work my hours. I have to make sure that goals are met. And so how do you get people to care about, those milestones or those goals or those metrics as much as you do when, when it's much easier for them to just be like,
Yeah. So I walked in situations like that. Like since I've been in a managerial position, they have moved me from different stores to fix them and help out. So I've walked into stores where you have technicians who literally come to work and don't do any work. They come to work just for the check. Then you have some that's really working hard. So for me, the first thing I do, I make sure that I set the tone. So I come, they see me come in early, they see me getting work done, they see me stay late. So they're like, okay, he's dedicated to the job. So now they can see me, and now they can realize if he's doing this, he also wants me to step up and make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing at the bare minimum. So one is showing by example. Number two, I try to change the culture of the pharmacy. So I look around, and when I take over a store, I don't make any changes for like a week or two. I just sit there and I work and I talk to everyone and I get their perspective and I see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, who's interacting with who and how they interact. And then I start making adjustments based off of that to get to the end goal. So I observe everything that's going on. And then I start talking to people like, all right, I see what you guys do here, and I understand why you do it, because every store is different. And a lot of people are coming to a store and just want to change everything. But there's a reason why certain stores work the way they work. You got to understand the people that you're working with. So before I even come in and start making many changes, I actually learn what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. And then I critique it until we can get to the point where we all working as a unit, all working as a one. So that's number two. And then number three, changing the culture. So I let them know, all right, we might not be best friends, but while we're here, we will be friendly. Nobody wants to work with that person when they see their name on the schedule and wants to call out. So let's go ahead and change that vibe. Let's see and realize that we are here for one reason, to make impacts on people's lives that come inside here. And I'm not trying to make this job more dreadful than what it needs to be. Let's come here and do that work. So I do little things for them, like buy pizza here and there. Once they meet a metric or do something good, to let them know, like, I see you guys doing something good. Let me reward you. And little things like that. After a while, everyone starts embracing each other. We become like a family. So I don't have to worry about if someone gonna come to work or somebody gonna do their load, because now everybody's looking at each other like, yo, y'all know the expectations here. So we all know what needs to be done. And they start checking themselves.
Well, I'm sure that's why they bring you into every okay, all right, Dr. Bartou, we need you to fix this. Great. I think that's great. I think what I'm hearing is, first, come in as an observer. Second, come in with the goal of, gradually changing the culture. And then, if you can't be friends, at least be friendly.
Yeah.
Because, they're not the same. Because sometimes
no, they're not the same.
They're not your friend, amen. but you are friendly. Praise God. And I think that is setting the, it sounds like your main way of going about it is setting the atmosphere and being, or changing the atmosphere into at least a friendly and productive atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because metrics must be met in order for you to keep that job or still have the job to keep.
Yeah.
In the first
And
place.
that's one of the things also, if you get the team feeling good, doing good, they're going to do what they can to make sure that you meet the metrics. Because they want to make you, I won't say proud, but they want to make sure they want to make you proud. They want to make sure they see you doing what you have to do for them and showing them love, and they want to do the same back. And it was by meeting the metrics, that's how they reciprocate that same type of energy.
And how do you, because I'm sure you've run into this, how do you remedy? So here you are, you go into a new store. Because again, whatever realm of whatever you do for a career or job, you've run into this, whether you're in the employee, whether you're the employer, whether you're the manager, whatever. I'm sure there are times you've gone into a situation where it's quite challenging to be friendly. Like you're like, listen, we don't really have to like each other, but we do have to respect each other, right?
Yeah.
But everybody that doesn't subscribe to that. For various reasons. And sometimes it may be a bad day, or sometimes it's just the phase that person is in. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like, I really don't really care about anything that you're saying. I really am not trying to do any of that. Does the company then provide a particular protocol, or is it just up to you to determine how you want to handle it?
Nah, the company actually got something. I can't think of the name right now, but where you can give the hotline a call and they can try to give
there's
you
a
some advice.
hotline.
Yeah. Yeah, you can give
Tell
the
me
hotline
more.
a call.
Come on. Hothead hotline, employee hotline, help our us.
Basically.
Yes.
And they try to give you advice and counsel. That's the name of the hotline. Advice and counsel. So you're like, hey, I'm having these issues with this technician or this employee. What should I do? And they try to go down a list of things what you could do, what you can't do. And then if they need to, they try to talk to the employee and see what's wrong with them. But for
like
me,
the employee will get on the phone, like they'll get on the phone with the employee.
yeah, they give them a call. You're like, hey, we see that you're having these issues. How can we help with these issues? But I try to start within the store, like before it goes to like a corporate level and we have to do all of this paperwork and etc. I'm good for pulling someone aside and be like, hey man, let's go talk over here in the mini clinic room or something like that, and we just have a seat. Sometimes they think they're in trouble, sometimes they don't. I'm like, yo, I really just want to know what's up with you. Like, are you having a bad day today? If you got some things going on, let me know. Because if that's the case, if it's just a bad day, we can, according to how the day goes, we can either let you go for that day, you come back refreshed tomorrow, or we can try to put you in a situation or position where you won't have to interact with the customers or where you won't have to interact with the person that you're working with. We can make that, separation so that you can have some type of peace and ease of mind so that you can get right. And sometimes people just need like a little 10, 15 minute break. Like, yo, man, go to the car, cool off, come back. But come back right. But for me, I just try to like have those conversations and just treat everybody equal. I'm not here being like that overbearing boss when I'm like, yo, do this, do that, or get out. Nah, something's the problem. Let's figure it out. And most cases, it's one of those conversations where you just have with someone and they be like, okay, he's being genuine. He really wants to know what's going on. And they just be like, all right, I came in a bad mood. I had such and such going on with me. But after this conversation, I feel a little better so I can get back to work.
Okay. I like it. Like, do you need 15 minutes in your car? You're not about to mess up these metrics. So do you not need to work with customers today? Because talking to people didn't work out for you today. Won't you go ahead in the back?
Oh, yeah.
Where you
I
not
tell them
talking
quick. Like, I have had technicians they're a little rough around the edges where a customer come in, the customer may, everyone still lives in that mindset where the customer is always right. So the customer will say some things that's a little out of the way. And when I see the situation going left, I immediately jump in. I won't let my technician sit out there to dry. Like, I won't let them get yelled at, get fussed at, get cursed at. I'm gonna step in and be like, hey, hold on. Let's fix the situation here. What do you need? I'm the pharmacist. Let me interject. And then I will remove that person from that situation, because I know all it takes is one bad situation to ruin a day. So before we ruin a day or ruin everybody's day, let me step in to resolve what's going on.
And that's good, like room reading, right? To know, like, when do I need to just pause what I'm doing right now and step in? And I know pharmacies can be busy, especially retail pharmacy. I mean, the flow is, especially as a customer, I know the flow is up there, from drive-through to people coming in to, somebody requesting refills, whether it's, or, one of us docs calling to put it in a prescription over the phone, versus someone like sending, electronic refills in, or someone calling and putting, like, the refills via the phone, that type of thing. What advice would you give someone just to help multitask, right? Because there are some things that the techs do help with and everything, but there are some things that the pharmacist has to be the one to handle that, or the pharmacist has to be the one to sign off on that. Like when a doc calls for to put the prescription in, the pharmacist has to, get on the phone. How do you manage that in general?
Man, that's a great question. When I used to hire people in, I used to ask that question, can you multitask? And then I started to realize a lot of people would try to multitask, but never completed one task. Everything was halfway done. I was about to say something else, but everything was halfway done.
Yeah, I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then I got distracted by a little bit of this before I finished a little bit of that, and then now I'm in a little bit of the other, but then I didn't finish this, and I didn't finish that, and now everything's at 50%. What do I do? Because everything's important.
Basically. So I tell them the way I do it now, I just let everyone know, don't multitask at all. Do one thing quickly, efficiently, get it done, and then move on to the next thing. But don't try to do two things at once, because you're not going to get it done effectively. So do one thing and then move on. And if someone walks up to you, let them know that you are doing something, and when they come in order, like, sir, I'm on the phone right now. I'll be at the register as soon as I get off the phone. And then you just move on. So now that person knows, okay, they acknowledge me for number one, so they feel like their presence is being seen. And then number two, they know exactly what's coming next. Oh, when they get off the phone, they're going to come to me. So I'm able to rest. I'm able to like relax and wait. But if you just try to multitask and you're not acknowledging people, or you're not letting everyone know what's going on around you, people will get frustrated and think that you're ignoring them. And that right there what causes most of the conflict. So I just tell my technicians, listen, while we doing this, just acknowledge people, let them know what you're doing and when you're going to be able to get to them. And if they're patient enough, we can get to them and provide them with the best customer service. And if they're not patient, we'll see them when they come back.
Well, although not necessarily if they're not patient, but it sounds like if they can't wait, depending on whatever the personal situation has going on, if it's like, I got to pick up my child from daycare, so I'm going to have to come back. Okay. So then let's jump into, because this is all kind of like, hey, this is my day job. This is what I do. But then at some point, being a podcast host came up. So tell me about, like, how did you even decide, where did that idea come from, and how long ago did you start, and what led you to even start a podcast in the first place?
So podcast, Pill Talk Podcast on all platforms and everything. But what made me start the podcast, one of my friends had a podcast. He asked me to be on it. And I was on it and I did well with it. And I realized, like, hey, I can do this. And plus, I'm in this profession. I can remember growing up not seeing too many Black doctors, too many Black entrepreneurs. So I'm like, you know what? Let me create a platform to show representation. So let me get on here and be able to provide our culture with the thing that they need to see, which is themselves, so that they know that they can achieve it. Because I know it's parts and when I was applying for pharmacy school, just like, man, even when I went to my first interview, the first time I applied, being nearly the only black person there and just looking around like, man, is this for me? Is this what I'm supposed to be? But knowing in the back of my head, like, yo, I already put the goal in mind, so I'm gonna get it. But just seeing that it ain't too many people that look like me. And even in pharmacy school, um, it was just three of us, three black gentlemen out of 80 students.
I was gonna ask how big your class was. Okay.
So that right there was another thing where we all linked together, like all the black students, we kind of came together and were just like, hey, we're not gonna let anyone fail. So if you're struggling, you need some study time, you need someone to talk to, if you're feeling sad or whatever you need, let us know, but we're not failing. Like we pushing forward. So that is something like that. What I want to show through my podcast is like representation and letting people talk about their journey so that people can understand that no, you might not get into your profession or start your career on the first try. You might have to go 2-3 times. And then some people got journeys on how they switch careers in their career. So just letting people know that what you're doing isn't the end goal, but just knowing that making an impact in people's life really is the end goal.
Nice. And how would you say, like that journey has been? Because how long ago did you start your podcast?
So I started my podcast about a year ago. Yeah. I started last year, October. Pharmacist month is October.
How
So
has
I
the
started.
journey been? I'm sorry, go ahead. I was talking.
You said how hard has it been?
No. You were saying you were finishing saying something and I cut you
Oh
off.
no, I said I started my podcast last year, October. So a year. And I started off with just reaching out to the people that was close to me. So the friends that I know that are pharmacists, and started branching out from there. But that was one of the things, just starting off and just keep asking people and seeing who all wants to be on and trying to find my niche. And I kind of really honed in and found it now. But it took some time. You know what I'm saying? Being a podcast is one of the people think it may be easy just to just produce content and give it out, but it's way more work than most people would believe it is.
That's a great segue because that was my next question. Talk a little bit about what that work is or looks like, right? For someone out there, because we've talked to someone who would like to maybe get into pharmacy as a pharmacist, and we've talked about someone who, whatever that career is, especially professional school, that didn't get in the first time, how to decide or help discern whether you should push forward in that same goal or pivot. So we talked about that aspect. So now we're talking about like more that creative part of you where, man, I started a podcast. So now for someone who's like, okay, well, I did maybe whatever, that professional school or whatnot, or whatever career you've chosen, but I kind of want to get into podcasting. My gosh, what am I in for? What should I know? Is there anything that you wish you would have known before getting started?
Man. So getting started was it's always easy just to get started, right? People can find a little camera and just record themselves, record someone talking. But then when you sit down and have to take the time and go through and edit, make clips, captions, finding time to post throughout the day if you don't have like an app that will post for you. So those little things like that will keep you busy with the podcast. But I think one of the hardest things probably with a podcast is having to keep coming up with content and finding people to come on to your podcast. So that's one of the things that I try to do consistently is keep reaching out to different people. And when I have someone on the podcast, let them know that, hey, if you know someone that will be
a good guest,
a good candidate for this, please let them know, send them my way because I would love to be on. And I try to reciprocate the love and be on anyone's platform that I can talk on to just spread some knowledge.
And so how did you decide, I don't know if you might answer this, on whether it's the name or the content, right? Because you're saying you found your niche, because that's something that is essential but difficult, right?
Yeah.
Especially with our generation, the digital age is vast now. So trying to find your voice, and then also in addition, you kind of touched on advertising, right? Whether it's making sure that you provide a consistent content, or whether you find your niche, or whether you find the proper way to advertise podcast episodes. So then all of that starts with finding the proper like name in what your niche is. So how did you go about doing that, or deciding on that, I should say?
Yeah. I wanted something that can just represent me when you see it. So like Pill Talk Podcast, with being a pharmacist, pills, we on here having a conversation. So talk. And plus, I wanted this to be something that can give you a daily dose. Like when you think of medicine, you want your daily dose, something that's going to inspire you, motivate you, and influence you to live at your best level, live at your best self. So that's really how I came up with the names. Like, you know what? Let me give somebody the daily dose, that pill talk. And what was the second part of the question?
Oh, how'd you find your niche?
So I kind of started all over the place, right? I knew I wanted to be in talking to medical providers. Then I was like entrepreneurs. Then I was like business people, finance. Like I wanted to be all in one. But then I realized first I need to get a core audience. I need to build an audience before I start branching out on different things. So I had to kind of like dial it back down. So now it's like, let me focus on my medical providers, medical professionals. And some of these medical professionals have their entrepreneurial spirit. So they have either a podcast, they have an online course, they have a business, consulting business. So then I'm able to talk to them about business as well, instead of trying to go and find another business person to talk to. So now I'm able to get all those different avenues within staying within my niche. Like I've had a pharmacist who turned into a financial advisor. So that was able to lead to another conversation about finances and having people look at their finances as a medical provider, because some people make great money, but they still live check to check. So it's like, let's figure out how can we change that narrative.
And so you interview only medical personnel, like pharmacists and physicians, or what?
So I'm really just trying to anyone in the medical field at this point, because I want this to be like a virtual career fair where you can come on to my platform and be like, you know what, I'm looking to become a pediatrician. You can just scroll down and be like, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pediatricians that you can just view and see their journey and how they made it. Oh, I want to be an OBGYN. Oh, I got a couple people that's I've interviewed for this. So you can see that. A doula, pharmacists, physicians, just so that you can do anything. You know, I want people just to see this and be like, you know what? The medical field is vast. It's not just my primary care doctor. You got nurses, you got respiratory care nurses, you got a whole lot of people that comes together and to help with all these medical needs. It's not just one or two. So I'm trying to get everybody in the medical field to come on and talk about their profession, their journey, just so that they can inspire somebody else.
Nice. I like that analogy of virtual career fair. I love it. I think that's great, because and there are some people who are considering multiple careers. So maybe being able to listen to individuals from the variety of careers they're considering, maybe help them to kind of pin down one and really see if one speaks to them more than the other. So with all of that you have going on, you somehow find time to do things in the community. Of course, including, of course, staying involved with Boy Scouts, and also really working towards immunization especially in the realm of COVID-19 immunization in the community. So talk to me about first about how like becoming a master's in Boy Scouts, and then we will jump into the now, which is the most current thing about being the top immunizer award rather.
All right, great. being a scoutmaster, I was a scoutmaster probably 2014, 2013. But that opportunity came to me because of my pro fight, a guy in my fraternity who crossed before me. He was a scoutmaster. He worked for the Boy Scouts of America. And it was an opportunity where we will go to underserved communities, other words, Black communities throughout the city. And we would just take time with the kids, talk to them, teach them little life lessons, and also show them the things that are taught through Boy Scouts. And at the end of the summer, we were able to take those kids free of charge on a camping trip through with the Boy Scouts. So some of the kids was able to join us, and we'd teach them little things and have them experience things outside their community that most kids wouldn't see. Or like I'm from a small town and I don't recall the Boy Scouts. So like being able to do that for them is letting them see a different part of the world, letting them see different things that's going on, which can open their mind from what they normally see on a day-to-day basis.
How long is this program?
It was during the summertime. So when the kids was out for the summer in South Carolina, we would go to these underserved communities and build real relationships with these kids and see them grow and mature as men to make a positive impact on their community.
And you do that still now, right? Or, well, are you still in South Carolina?
No, I moved. I live in Maryland now. So when I was down in South Carolina, yeah, this was a program that I was a part of, and just seeing these kids grow and mature. Like one of the guys that was a scoutmaster with me, he was in this program as a kid. You know what I'm
full
saying?
circle.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, that was dope for me to see. Like, oh, so this really works. And seeing you grow up, or seeing you come from this position and giving back to your community, like, yo, that's nice. And then
being able to both relate, both like and influence. So then, so then now talk to me about like the current community influence that you're having with working with the district for COVID-19 vaccination. Talk to me about that and how you end up getting this honor.
Oh man, thank you. Just trying to do as much as I can, just trying to make sure that you want to protect the community, and then the elderly that's out there, they were the number one target. You're like, listen, we want to make sure that you're able to get back to your family as soon as possible. So come on in, let's get this immunization. Going out to long-term care facilities, because as you know, they couldn't have family come visit them because they was in this facility. So just making sure that everyone in the facility was vaccinated, and then trying to get them to get their family vaccinated just so that they can get those visitations back. So that was one of the things that we wanted to focus on and achieve. So making sure that we can all get back to, I guess, a new norm so that we could move forward through this pandemic. But
how did you choose the place? Like, is there an organization that you're working with?
Oh, no, just through the company. The company would have us call and reach out to different facilities. And then
the company meaning the pharmacy company you work with now?
Yeah, the pharmacy company I work with now. Yeah, just calling different facilities. They had a list of them. And they're trying to build relationships with people because everyone is calling. Every different pharmacy is calling to try to get these connections. And they're trying to be as personable as possible to make that connection so that you could make that impact, or that I could make that impact. But my real, my latest outreach was my Thanksgiving give back, where me and my team, we all came together and decided that we wanted to give back to the homeless, because they're homeless, but they're not helpless, because we are here to help them. And we created book bags, not created, but we made book bags with blankets and essential products, hand sanitizers, face masks, socks, to give back to the homeless. So went out into the city of Baltimore, Maryland, and handed out probably 100+ book bags. And then I've had a couple people contribute some of their time and funds, where we ended up buying like 100 burgers. So we ended up giving out book bags and burgers at the same time. So something
Books
to
and
keep them.
burgers.
Yes, indeed.
I love it.
And just sitting down, having a conversation with some of these people, man, and understanding the path that they're on in life right now. Because some of these people aren't just homeless because of drugs or alcohol. They got other issues. And once you sit down and talk with them, you realize like these people are just, they're people that are just down on their luck. And being able to hand out something to them and like, and help them out, you can just see like the excitement, the joy in their face. Like, man, this young Black man is here providing and helping for us, man, during Thanksgiving. So that meant a lot to me and meant a lot to some of those people that was able to receive those things. And I want to say to them, thank you for actually receiving it, because some people would tell you, no, they don't want that. They don't want a handout. And you got to make sure that what you're giving out is something, one, that they want to take, and something that they can value.
And how did you decide on where to go? Was that something you did in partnership with your current company as well?
Yeah. I wanted to do the give back. I was thinking of more of a Washington, D.C. area, but my team, they were like, the Baltimore area has a bigger need. So I figured, hey, you know what we can do? We can do the Thanksgiving in Baltimore. And then when it's Christmas time, take our focus and put that to DC. So that way we can touch 2 different cities within the same year and making an impact on both.
I love it. I love it. Being able to get out, and because you guys are out there, like you're like distributing these things. And then you guys have a team to stuff the bags, or you do that yourself as well? Like,
do it yourself.
Okay.
Me and the team, we do it.
And then there's donations that for the things that go inside of them.
Yeah, people could donate things, and then people can donate funds to help us buy the things. You know what I'm saying? Because I would just start by purchasing and making a way, so that way most people won't help until they see you're doing it, and that's when they go, oh, okay, now I can help because I see you actually doing it. You're not just talking about it.
So you started with your own money, like buying things that go into the backpacks?
Yeah. Started with my own money.
Well, would you look at that? That I think being able to give back and having the heart for that is very important for any community, but it's definitely the underserved. That's very, very important. And that leads me to my next question in your journey so far, which has been an incredible journey. What have you found to be the most challenging, and what are you most proud of?
Man, that's a great question.
Thanks.
The most challenging? Probably finding the right people to work with is the most challenging. Because everybody seems like they have good intentions in the beginning, and then certain things can just make the situation go left. So just finding the people that's really in there for the end goal, not just for what they can get through the process. So when I talk to people and I want to partner with them, it's like, listen, this is the end goal. Do you want to make it all the way to this, or do you want something or do you just want something out of it? If you just want something out of it, let me know, and then we can focus on how I can give that to you and how you can give something back to the network, and we can just get to a certain place and we can just disconnect. But if you want to make the end goal, let's work together, let's partner up and really do something. So that's probably the most challenging, is finding the people that actually has the same mindset to get all the way to the end.
And you're talking about the community service project, or just in general?
Just in general, just like even with the podcast, like finding people that want to really help with the podcast and not just try to come in and say that they're doing something when they're really not. You're like, let's work if we want to work. Let's get to the end goal. Let's make sure that the product is the best that we can provide for the audience, right? And then Just like another thing would be like with technicians, like when you hire someone, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to work for the first 20 minutes until they realize until they realize the job isn't as easy as we make it seem to be. Some people have been doing this job for years, so it's a second nature for them to be able to answer the phone, talk to a customer, pick bags up, count pills. But they do this every day. Like you're starting out, you got to understand that some of these things takes time to learn. So are you willing to take the time to learn to get to that level, or are you just here to get to the check?
Okay, next level or next check. Got it. Okay, listen, I'm here for it. So then what have you are you most proud of thus far in your journey?
Oh man. Thing that makes me proud is to see people come to me and say, like, I see what you're doing out there. What you're doing is influencing me to do something like that for my community. Or what you're doing, I'm telling people about this or the podcast, about Pill Talk Podcast, so that they can see other medical providers. Because, you know, coming from where I'm from, it wasn't that many Black people in these positions. So it's like, I see what you're doing. So I'm sending people to you so that they can see what you're doing and they can see other people represented in your podcast. So that's what I'm very proud of, to be able to help influence others to live at their best, to inspire and to motivate.
Well, that perfect. And that I think is a great place to kind of bring our episode to a close. Before we close, do you have any kind of like the biggest piece of advice that you want to share or impart on our listeners or viewers?
Yeah, definitely. Probably the biggest piece of advice, probably the merch that I'm wearing. Bigger dreams, less worries. Just like I talked about my journey into pharmacy school, I had a dream and I wouldn't let the no's stop me. So those no's was very small compared to the dream that I had for myself. So if you out there listening to this, bigger dreams, less worries.
Bigger dream, less worries, which means worry less, dream bigger.
Yes.
Perfect. I because I don't want people to, don't think just because you dream big, you ain't gonna have no worries. Don't.
Yeah.
That ain't what his shirt says. That ain't what he's trying to say. Amen. You got to get the message out right. So where can people find you? Where can people find your podcast, etc.?
All right, thanks. So they can find me on Pill Talk Podcast on Instagram, Pill Talk Podcast on Facebook. You can go to www.pilltalkpodcast.com to find everything you want to know about me, my bio. If you like this shirt, Carolina Blue, you can come on over there, get you some merch.
Got some
You
merch
can
in
even
there.
find the dynamic doc. She's going to be on Pill Talk. Her episode is coming out very soon, so make sure you tune in for that. So we got
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Got about 40 episodes in. So if you want to know anything from a pharmacist to a therapist to a pediatrician to anything, you just come on the Pill Talk podcast, find the right career path that you want to follow, listen to their journey, and then make your own.
Hey, that's a great way to come on. Listen to their journey and make your own. Huh? Love it. I love it. So we want to thank Dr. Bartou for coming in to our podcast and being our esteemed guest on this episode. We enjoyed learning about you and your both your motivation to what you're doing now and your journey to get where you're getting to and inspiring us here at Dynamic Doc. Listen, we aspire to inspire, and you certainly did that with this episode. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out this episode. Thanks again, Dr. Bartou, for being our guest. And for our listeners, definitely make sure you check them out. And in the meantime, make sure to stay blessed, stay healthy, and make sure you live your life wholly, on purpose, for a purpose. Go ahead and follow both Dr. Bartou and also this podcast and the Dynamic Doc on everything. And stay tuned for the next episode. Be blessed, stay healthy, stay safe. Peace, everyone. Bye.